Good morning, America. How are ya? It's Monday Morning Rail. We'll be 500 miles before the day is done. They call me the City of New Orleans. Hi, I'm Denny Jelsma, and I'm at the world-famous Jacksonville Terminal Railroad Museum. And it's Monday morning, and you know what we do on Monday? You guessed it, we do show and tell. But before show and tell starts, show and tell is always brought to you by Jelsma Graphics, the embroiderer people of railroad clothing. Since 1985, we have over 1,500 railroad logos. So for all your embroidered railroad clothing, go to jelsma.com. And with that being said, show and tell starts right now. Monday morning show and tell starts right now, and I think that we have a really exciting program today. I like this train, and you know I have a lot of favorite trains, but this is really a neat train. And I traveled in my corporate life up and down this corridor where this train ran for many years, and now I have a model of it, and it's just really kind of exciting. And what it is, it's the Pennsylvania Railroad DEL-MAR Express, and it ran from New York City to Philadelphia to Wilmington, and from Wilmington it went all the way down to Cape Charles, actually, Virginia, on the Del-Mar Peninsula. That's Virginia and Maryland. And then you got off the train and you took a steam ship from the Cape Charles all the way to Norfolk. It was really an exciting service. Now you got to remember, they had a highway that went down there, but it was a two-lane highway, and this is back in the 40s during the war years, and it took a long time to really make that. The whole trip from New York to Norfolk took going south right at 6 hours and going back 7.5. Part of that was because of you had about an hour and a half on the water from Cape Charles to Norfolk. But this was a Del-Mar Express. It made 21 stops. It averaged 37.5 miles an hour. And you know, you think about that on a highway that was two-lane back in the 40s with a lot of traffic, boy, you couldn't do that. It would take you at least 12 hours or longer. And even today, it's 4-lane, but it's stop and go, stop and go. And so they had this service that made 21 stops. And so it started out in New York City. And Greg, what did it?
Well, we noticed here, obviously, it started out being pulled by a GG1 coming out of Penn Station through the tubes down to Philadelphia until they got to Wilmington. In Wilmington, they would have changed power, and you notice on their schedule, the Wilmington stop was fairly long, and that was the reason for the length of the Wilmington stop, was because they had to change engines. Now we'll show how the train would have looked leaving Wilmington.
And this is the train. It was typically pulled by a Pennsylvania K4. Pennsylvania, you got to understand, Pennsylvania was the standard railroad of the world, and they were innovators on you just can't imagine. You know, today with our big, large mergers, you know, BNSF and Union Pacific is 18 to 20,000 miles of track. Pennsylvania in the 40s had over 21,000 miles of track, and they were called the standard railroad of the world. And on Wall Street, everything was predicated on the stocks of what the Pennsylvania Railroad was doing. It was the blue chip stock. And they ran this train, and it was all heavyweight. and this K4 is just it's a gorgeous engine, and typically it was 15 to 16 cars. Occasionally they would throw a Pullman on if it was completely sold out. In my train, I have a Pullman, but and if it wasn't, then it was like a 14-1 to 12-1 type consistence. But it was all heavyweight, and at this time this train was not air conditioning, and all coaches, and they even had a dining car. Remember, it was a good 7 hour on the trip. They had a sleeping a car occasionally, and then they had an observation car. And the observation car was later taken off in later years, but it was kind of like a first-class car. And so this was a train that went north and south. It was heavily patronized, and it was when it got to Wilmington. Here again, according to the how it was sold out, they could add coaches because it was very relatively available for these coaches. And so this train, it was called the Del-MAR Express, and that's the way it is at the world famous Jacksonville Terminal Railroad Museum in beautiful Jacksonville, Florida, where the sun always shines and running trains is an absolute pleasure.